And why was it that we didn't, why is it that we're trying to increase that? And I thought Gene's question was a very, very good question. And I think many county residents did too. Over 26,000 acres of the available 59,000 acres in the ETJ opted out. And that's a significant number. And I think the CCN issue was a failure, and it was a poorly orchestrated attempt without very much communication. And that's one of the biggest problems that our council has. We're not communicating. I'll give you an example, the traffic circle. Mr. Gross likes to talk about the traffic circle as being a $100,000 windfall for the city of Kerrville. You go and you talk to the residents of Quinlan Creek Estates. You go and you talk to the residents of the Donna K neighborhood. You go and talk to the residents of the Summit. The people around there who use that traffic circle don't believe it was a good idea. They think it was built much too big and at much too expensive a cost. And I sat out there with a gentleman named Arch Harrison the other day on his front porch, and I visited with him a few times, and we sat there and he was telling me about how high school kids use the traffic circle as a big donut, and they drive around it, quickly to have some fun. And you know what? Right as he was telling us that, no sooner had he started speaking than a high school group with about 4 kids in it started driving around the traffic circle at a high rate of speed, and I recognized, wow, this is what's going on with this thing. And so while some people might think it's a great idea, I think there was room for a lot of improvement there in how it was designed and how it's used. And I hope that our current council will get those lights turned on over it soon, because it's dangerous at night. You can't see very well over there.
What do you see as the role of city council members, and do you think our current form of government is appropriate for our city?
Mm-hmm. I think our current government can function effectively. I really do. I believe that an effective an effective city manager working under a capable city council can be a good form of government. I think our fire and our police and our EMS services are functioning effectively. I think our city staff can function much more effectively. And if you sit down and talk with them and can get a straight answer from them, I think you'll see that they believe that too. There are areas of our city staff that I believe can function much more effectively and be a better representative of the taxpayers and efficiently. As far as our council goes, is that effective? I believe a 5-member council can be effective. I don't think of it as a board of directors the way Mr. Gross does. I just differ greatly in that. I believe that it's critical for those council members to become more in touch with the citizenry. I think they need to get out and start talking to people. I think I'm about the only one who's really doing that now, and I think that's not fair to our local government and not fair to our local citizens. When you go out and meet with the people, you not only come to appreciate that office if you have it, but you get in touch with what their concerns are. You get to hear firsthand what they think about things. And let me tell you something, when you're talking to them on their doorstep or in their living room, it's a completely different environment from when they address you at council. It's different. When they address you at council, you got 5 big fancy chairs up there, and the guy's standing there at the podium, and he's got 4 minutes to talk, and it is a difficult scenario to ask a citizen of this town to go and do that. But when you talk to them on their doorstep or in their living room, they're in their comfort zone, and that's where they'll tell you how they really feel. And a lot of times, if you will get an earful, and I think it's very important. I know that city council is as Mr. Gross likes to say, it's a voluntary job, and it is. But guess what? That doesn't mean that we can't have people who are fully committed to it and who do a better job of being in touch with their constituents. So in answer to your question, I would say we can have a very effective form of government, but it needs to function from a very informed council. Not a disconnected group of we know what's best, folks.
I hope I'm not just getting you to rephrase what you've said to Mark, but I have a similar question. It sounds like you envision yourself almost doing some of the work that city staff is doing, as far as taking a proactive, go out and look for business. And in some ways, that doesn't seem to be in line with the way the current council structure is. A lot of that work is done by city staff.
Yes.
It's brought in form of information items. It goes through proposals. It gets put on agenda, and
Absolutely.
then council votes.
Absolutely.
So, are there changes to that structure that you would like to propose?
Let me tell you something. Every time I sit in council meetings, I'm frustrated when I hear different council members complain about another council member becoming active in the community. I just think that is not doing a good service for our community. I think our city council needs to be much more active. I actually go and talk with residents, and they don't know who our city council members are. They don't even know their names.
Do you
much
think
less
that
do
you
they know
could
them
do that
personally.
within the structure that's already in place, as far as
I-
description for a council member, description for staff?
I won't work within a council in which I can't be actively engaged. I cannot work that way. I cannot sit there on that council and attend meetings on Tuesday nights and say, yep, I've done my job. I just can't do that. And I think it's the very reason that we're so challenged right now. I bet you if you looked at some other towns, you would find some very actively engaged folks serving their local government roles and doing so in ways that are good for their cities. And I think that can be. I think it's critical that we do that, and I think it's critical that we have an actively engaged council. And this business of council always needing to act with unanimity, no, I don't believe that. I think healthy debate, as I stated at the Comanche Trace Forum, I think healthy debate is incredibly important to our council. We need people, we don't need to have everybody up there agreeing on everything. Mr. Gross has accused me almost unmercifully of running for council with my wife sitting on there. But when was the last time he ever opposed the rest of council and voted differently from them? I've been going to council meetings for a year now, and I've never seen it happen. I think the idea of a council that's not necessarily united on every issue is a good thing. And so my position on that issue is one of, I am passionate about this issue. I think we need to have much more involvement from our council and much more active engagement, and I think the people would welcome it. I have people tell me all the time, thank you for coming by. You're the first person who's ever visited me. I lived on Rock Creek Drive for 10 years, and I have to tell you, Rock Creek Drive has more voters on that one street than any other city, and than any other street in Kerrville. And do you know that in the 10 years I lived there, I was never approached by either a member of council or a candidate. I don't want to stop visiting with members of this city, constituents, if I'm elected. In fact, I think it's more important that a council member visit with constituents than it is a candidate. And so, in answer to your question, I would say I want to see a much more actively engaged council, and I think it's good for our city. When we have that, I believe we'll get better local government. We need to quit worrying so much about the rules and this business about, we have a current council who, rules are important, but we have a current council who tries to prevent activity based on rules. And I don't think that's a good thing, you know? And I think we have tremendous bureaucratic problems at City Hall with our city staff. That staff could function much more effectively, and I think it's about time that it started doing so, and we're going to have a strong impetus on council for that to occur. And I think that's something that needs to happen, and I believe we can have, I believe that we have a city manager who will respond to the interests of the majority of council. I believe that we have that. I'm confident that we do. And I think we have some very good and capable members of city staff who are doing a fine job. But I think we have areas of excess and bureaucracy within our city staff that need to be addressed. And I hope that we'll have a council with the gumption to do that.